High Commander Vex lounged in his command chair, tentacles draped carelessly over the armrests, as he stared at the holographic display of the small blue planet. His upper eyes narrowed, while his lower set remained fixed on the data streaming across his console. The bridge of the Galactic Dominion flagship, Inevitable Victory, hummed with activity as his crew prepared for what would surely be the easiest conquest in their illustrious history. "You can't be serious," Vex said, his voice dripping with more sarcasm than the acidic swamps of his homeworld. "These humans, their most advanced weapons are basically glorified fireworks, and they still haven't figured out unified field theory." Science Officer Prill adjusted her translator implant before responding. "Correct, High Commander. Their technology is approximately 300 cycles behind Dominion standard. They have barely established outposts on their own moon and neighboring planet. Most of their military capabilities rely on chemical propellants and primitive fission devices. So we are essentially harvesting resources from children." Vex chuckled, the sound like gravel in a food processor. "Do they at least have anything worth taking besides water and minerals?" Trill flicked through several screens with her auxiliary arms. "Their biodiversity is remarkable, and they have an unusual abundance of something they call chocolate." "Sounds disgusting," muttered Tactical Officer Core from his station, his gray, wrinkled face contorted into what passed for a smile in his species. "But I hear their entertainment programming is surprisingly addictive. My cousin serves on an exploration vessel that intercepted their broadcasts. Apparently, there's a show about human doctors finding mates while cutting open other humans. It's called Grey's Anatomy or some such nonsense." "Spare me the cultural briefing," Vex waved dismissively. "How long until we enter their detection range?" Navigation Officer Taz, her crystalline exoskeleton glinting under the bridge lights, turned from her console. "Approximately 6 hours, Commander. Though with their primitive scanning technology, they likely won't detect us until we are practically on top of them." "Perfect," Vex stretched, his 7-foot frame extending to its full height. "Prepare the standard intimidation package. Let's make this quick and clean. I promised my spawn I'd be home for the molting festival." "Sir," Communications Officer Lark interjected, her voice melodious despite her obvious confusion. "Standard protocol suggests we should conduct a comprehensive cultural analysis before initiating contact. There might be aspects of human psychology we should account for in our approach." Vex fixed all 4 of his eyes on Lark. "Officer, I have conquered 16 worlds with the Dominion. I have yet to encounter a species that didn't immediately recognize the futility of resistance when faced with our technological superiority. These humans still think faster than light travel is theoretical. What could they possibly do that our standard protocols wouldn't cover?" Lark's antenna drooped slightly. "Nothing, Commander. I just thought—" "That's where you went wrong," Vex interrupted. "This is a resource acquisition mission, not a cultural exchange program. Prepare the intimidation package, ready the harvest drones, and let's get this over with." The bridge fell silent except for the soft beeps and whirs of the ship's systems. Vex returned his attention to the holographic Earth, rotating slowly before him. Such a pretty little world, he thought. Soon to be another jewel in the Dominion's crown. 6 hours later, the Inevitable Victory dropped out of fold space just beyond Earth's moon, its massive hull dwarfing the primitive satellites and space stations orbiting the blue planet. Within moments, every communication device on Earth began broadcasting the same message in all major languages. "Attention, inhabitants of planet Earth. This is High Commander Vex of the Galactic Dominion. Your world has been selected for resource extraction and potential colonization. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. Comply with all forthcoming instructions, and no harm will come to your population. Attempt resistance, and we will be forced to demonstrate our technological superiority in ways you will find most unpleasant. You have 1 planetary rotation to respond." Vex reclined in his command chair, watching the data feeds from Earth with mild amusement. "And now we wait for the panicking leaders to contact us. begging for mercy and offering sacrifices, tale as old as space travel. Sir, Lark called from her station, antennae twitching nervously. We are receiving thousands of responses, but they are unusual. Unusual how? Vex straightened slightly. Well, Lark hesitated. Many appear to be individuals rather than government representatives. And they are, how do I put this? They are telling us to perform anatomically impossible acts on ourselves. Kor barked out a laugh. Predictable pre-submission bravado. They will change their tune when we vaporize one of their cities. That's just it, Lark continued, genuinely perplexed. Many messages include variations of go ahead and try it, along with colorful descriptions of what they claim they will do to us in return. Vex's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Show me their military response. Prill pulled up a tactical display. They have scrambled fighter aircraft, but nothing that could reach us. Their space assets are changing orbital patterns in what appears to be defensive maneuvering. But again, nothing that poses any threat. So, all talk and no bite. Vex nodded. As expected, select an uninhabited region and deploy a single hammer strike. Let's give them something to actually worry about. Target selected, Kor announced. Unpopulated desert region in what they call Australia. Hammer strike ready. Fire, Vex ordered casually. A brilliant beam of energy lanced from the inevitable victory toward Earth, striking the targeted region with pinpoint accuracy. The resulting explosion sent a massive dust cloud into the atmosphere, visible from space. Impact successful, Kor reported. Demonstrative force without casualties, as ordered. Excellent. Now let's see how they Vex began, but Lark interrupted him. Sir, incoming transmission. It appears to be from a United Earth government response team. Finally, Vex settled back. Put them through. Visual display. The holographic display shifted to show a human female in a formal suit, seated at what appeared to be a conference table. Several other humans of various appearances flanked her. This is General Diana Powell of the United Earth Defense Council. We have received your message and witnessed your demonstration. Vex smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Good. Then you understand the futility of... We understand that you have made a terrible mistake, Powell interrupted, her face showing no fear. That demonstration was certainly impressive, but if it was meant to frighten us into submission, I'm afraid you have miscalculated. Vex blinked all four eyes in succession. Miscalculated? Your species can barely reach your own moon. Your most powerful weapons would hardly scratch our hull shielding. Powell smiled. Not the fearful, placating smile Vex had seen countless times from conquered species, but something altogether different. Something confident. Commander Vex, is it? Humanity has a saying. Don't judge a book by its cover. We have been aware of extraterrestrial civilizations for over 70 years. Impossible, Prill blurted out. Our scans show no evidence of advanced technology. Of course they don't. Another human, an older male with dark skin, leaned forward. Dr. Marcus Jackson, Quantum Concealment Division. We have deliberately maintained a technological facade to avoid attracting attention from species exactly like yours. Unfortunately, that strategy has apparently failed. Vex felt a strange sensation in his thorax, something he hadn't experienced in many cycles. Was it uncertainty? You are bluffing, he declared, but with less conviction than he intended. Perhaps, Powell acknowledged. But ask yourself this. Would a primitive species react to your arrival with fear and panic, or with the coordinated response you are seeing? Would we immediately establish a united front rather than dissolving into factional conflicts? Would we be having this conversation in your language, which you never provided translation protocols for? The bridge fell silent as Vex and his officers exchanged glances. We have been monitoring your approach since you entered the solar system. A third human, an Asian woman with silver-streaked hair, added. Your fold space technology leaves quite the quantum wake. Rather primitive, actually. Who are you people? Vex demanded, his earlier casualness evaporating. "We are humanity," Powell stated simply. "We have spent generations preparing for first contact, hoping it would be peaceful but ready if it wasn't. Your Dominion isn't the first alien power to discover Earth, Commander. You are just the first to announce yourselves, dramatically." Vex's mind raced. This wasn't following any of the standard Conquest scenarios. "If what you say is true, demonstrate your supposed advanced technology." Powell conferred briefly with her colleagues, then nodded. "Very well. A small demonstration, then. Dr. Jackson, if you please." The older human tapped something on a device before him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared across the inevitable Victory's bridge. "Commander," Taz shouted from navigation. "Something's happening to our fold space drive. The containment field is fluctuating." "Impossible," Prill stammered. "They can't possibly affect our systems from that distance without quantum entanglement technology," the Asian woman finished. "Dr. Lily Zhang, Quantum Physics Division. We call it Q-linking. Your ship's drive is now entangled with a controlled matrix here on Earth. Don't worry, we are not going to destroy your vessel, just holding it in place while we talk." Vex felt his 6 hearts pounding in sequence. This was unprecedented. "Release our ship immediately," he growled. "We will," Powell assured him, "once we have established some ground rules. Rule 1. Earth is not available for resource extraction or colonization. Rule 2. Any act of aggression against our planet will be met with immediate and proportionate response. Rule 3. Peaceful communication and potential trade relationships are welcome, provided the first 2 rules are respected. You can't dictate terms to the Galactic Dominion," Vex snarled, though his confidence was rapidly deteriorating. "Actually, we can," Powell corrected him, "because Rule 4 is already in effect. We have transmitted all our data on your ship, your weapons capabilities, and this conversation to several of our off-world outposts. Outposts your scans didn't detect because, again, quantum concealment." Lark turned from her console, her expression grave. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple energy signatures, activating on Earth's surface and in orbit. They were there all along, just somehow masked from our sensors." "Tactical analysis," Vex demanded. Kor's grey face had paled considerably. "If these readings are accurate, they could disable or destroy the inevitable Victory several times over." Powell's expression remained calm. "We have lived in a state of constant readiness for generations, Commander Vex. We maintained the appearance of a divided, technologically limited species, specifically to avoid interstellar conflict. But make no mistake, we are neither divided nor limited." "So what happens now?" Vex asked, his voice quieter. "Now you have choices," Powell replied. "Option 1, leave our solar system and report to your superiors that Earth is not suitable for conquest. Option 2, remain as peaceful visitors, exchange knowledge, and potentially establish diplomatic relations. Option 3, she left the sentence hanging. "There is no option 3, is there?" Vex realized. "Smart, Commander," Dr. Jackson nodded appreciatively. Vex looked around at his crew, seeing his own shock and disbelief mirrored in their expressions. Everything they'd believed about this mission, about these humans, had been wrong. Catastrophically wrong. "Release our fold space drive," Vex finally said. "We will withdraw to a non-threatening distance and reconsider our approach." "A wise decision," Powell nodded. "Dr. Zhang?" The Asian woman tapped her device again, and the alarms on the bridge silenced. "Drive functions restored," Taz confirmed, sounding relieved. "We will maintain position near your moon," Vex stated. "I need to consult with Dominion High Command." "Of course," Powell agreed. "We will be monitoring." "Oh, and Commander, that chocolate you dismissed? It's actually quite delicious. If you decide on option 2, we'd be happy to share some." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Orders, Commander?" Kor finally asked. Vex stared at the blue planet, seeing it with entirely new eyes. Tactical, full defensive protocols. Communications, prepare a priority message to High Command. Science, I want everything we have on quantum concealment technology. Navigation, move us to the designated position. As his crew rushed to comply, Vex couldn't help but marvel at the situation. In all his years of conquest, he'd never encountered anything like this. These humans, with their primitive appearance and their hidden depth, had completely upended his expectation. And somewhere deep in his thorax, behind his confusion and wounded pride, Vex felt something unexpected stirring. Respect. The sky above Earth remained blue for now. But in the Dominion, when word of this encounter spread, the sky would effectively turn red, the universal signal for danger. Because any species that could hide its true nature so effectively, that could project weakness while harboring such strength, was not merely dangerous. It was terrifying. Vex settled back in his command chair, eyes fixed on the deceptively peaceful blue world. "Well played, humans," he muttered. "Well played indeed." And as the inevitable victory moved into its holding position, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that the name of his flagship had suddenly become tragically ironic. Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. Grand Admiral Zorik spat, his holographic form looming over the bridge of the inevitable victory. All 6 of his eyes were narrowed to slits, and the bioluminescent patches on his neck pulsed an angry crimson. "You expect the High Council to believe that a species of hairless primates has been concealing technology centuries beyond our own?" Vex stood at attention, painfully aware of the career suicide he was committing. "The evidence is irrefutable, Grand Admiral. The humans disabled our fold space drive remotely. Their quantum concealment technology rendered their defenses invisible to our most sophisticated scans." "They tricked you," Zorix interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. "A primitive psychological operation, and you fell for it like a fresh-hatched cadet." Officer Lark stepped forward, her antennae quivering with barely suppressed indignation. "Permission to address the Grand Admiral?" Zorix's hologram shifted slightly to face her. "And you are?" "Communications Officer Lark, sir. I personally analyzed the transmission frequencies. The humans were communicating in our native language without using translation matrices. They somehow extracted our linguistic patterns directly from our ship's systems. Coincidence?" Zorix dismissed with a wave of his upper limb. "Or perhaps they got lucky. The universe is vast. Language parallels are not unprecedented." Science Officer Prill joined the conversation, her auxiliary arms clutching a datapad. "Sir, with respect, the energy signatures we detected after they revealed themselves, I have never seen anything like them. The quantum fluctuations alone suggest technology at least 5 generations beyond our current capabilities." Zorix stared at the assembled officers for a long moment. "You have all been contaminated by this paranoia. Vex, I expected better from you. Your record was exemplary until now." Vex felt his throat sac deflate slightly. "Sir, I understand your skepticism. It violates everything we believed about technological progression curves. But I implore you, send additional ships, not for conquest, but for verification."
"Oh, I'm sending additional ships," Zorix growled. "The entire 7th Fleet is already en route to your position. Not for verification, Commander, but for proper conquest, and to rescue you from whatever mind-altering influence these humans have clearly subjected you to."
Tactical Officer Corps stepped forward. "Grand Admiral, the 7th Fleet? That's 60 warships, including 3 planet crackers. If the humans are as advanced as we now believe, such aggression could provoke—" "Silence!" Zorix roared. "I have heard enough insubordination for one transmission. The 7th Fleet will arrive within 36 hours. You will maintain position and take no further action until their arrival. Is that understood?" Vex straightened, suddenly aware of the weight of what was about to happen. "Understood, Grand Admiral." "Good. Prepare for medical evaluation upon the fleet's arrival. Your entire command crew will undergo cognitive purging. Zorix's hologram flickered. For the glory of the Dominion. For the glory of the Dominion, Vex echoed hollowly as the transmission ended. The bridge remained silent for several moments. Finally, Navigation Officer Taz spoke, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the emergency lights that had activated during the Grand Admiral's tirade. "We are all going to die, aren't we?" she asked, her normally confident voice wavering. Vex turned to face his crew. "The Grand Admiral believes the humans are bluffing. He thinks their display of advanced technology was some kind of psychological warfare. But we know better," Prill said softly. "We do," Vex confirmed. "The question is, what do we do with that knowledge?" Kor's wrinkled face twisted into an expression of disbelief. "You can't possibly be suggesting we defy direct orders from the Grand Admiral? I'm suggesting we prevent an interspecies war that we might not win," Vex replied, moving back to his command chair. "Officer Locke, hail the humans, specifically General Powell if possible." Locke hesitated only briefly before turning to her console. "Transmitting now, Commander." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the same conference room from their previous communication. General Powell sat at the center, flanked by Dr. Jackson and Dr. Zhang, along with several new human faces. "Commander Vex," Powell greeted him, her expression carefully neutral. "I trust your superiors have been briefed on our situation." Vex leaned forward in his chair. "They have, General. Unfortunately, they didn't believe me." A small smile played at the corners of Powell's mouth. "Let me guess, they think we are bluffing? That we couldn't possibly have concealed such technology from your superior civilization?" "Precisely," Vex nodded. "And they have dispatched the 7th Fleet to continue what I started. 60 warships, including 3 with planet-destroying capabilities." Rather than the panic Vex half expected, Powell merely sighed and exchanged glances with her colleagues. "About what we anticipated then. Thank you for the warning, Commander. You anticipated this." Vex blinked rapidly. Dr. Jackson chuckled. "Commander, we have been running first contact simulations for decades. The superior aliens don't believe our advanced scenario is actually number 3 in our playbook. Which is why," Dr. Zhang added, "we activated our deep space monitoring network immediately after our first conversation. We detected your transmission to your superiors and the fleet's departure from what we assume is a forward operating base in the Kuiper Belt." Vex felt that strange sensation in his thorax again, but stronger now. "If you knew all this, why are you still talking to me?" "Because you came back to warn us," Powell stated simply. "That suggests you are not fully aligned with your leadership's decisions. It suggests there might be an alternative to what comes next." "And what does come next, exactly?" Vex asked, suddenly afraid of the answer. Powell's expression hardened. "If your fleet arrives with hostile intent, we will defend ourselves. Given what we have seen of your technology and tactics, the result would be regrettable for your people." "You are saying you'd destroy 60 of our most advanced warships?" Kor blurted out incredulously. "If necessary," Powell confirmed without a trace of bravado. "But we'd prefer not to. Contrary to what your Grand Admiral seems to believe, humans don't want war. We hid our capabilities precisely to avoid conflicts like this." Vex studied the humans carefully. Everything in his training, in the collective wisdom of the Dominion, told him that no species would possess such devastating military power and choose not to use it for expansion. Yet here were these humans, claiming to have done exactly that. "Why?" he asked finally. "Why hide? Why not use your power to establish dominance?" A new human entered the frame, older than the others, with white hair and deeply lined features. "Because we have seen where that path leads, Commander. I'm Dr. Thomas Barrett, Chief Historian. Throughout our history, whenever one human civilization developed technological superiority over others, they typically used it to conquer, colonize, and exploit. The results were often catastrophic for everyone involved. When we realized we weren't alone in the universe, Powell continued, we made a collective decision. We would advance our technology in secret, develop defenses beyond anything potential aggressors might possess, but we would not repeat the mistakes of our past on a galactic scale. A species that learns from its history, Prill murmured, sounding almost reverent. Fascinating. So what are you proposing? Vex asked. I can't stop the Seventh Fleet. Even if I tried to warn them, the Grand Admiral has likely already ordered them to disregard any communications from my vessel. We are proposing an alliance, Powell stated, eliciting gasps from both sides of the conversation. Not with your Dominion, but with you, Commander Vex, and your crew. Help us prevent this conflict. That would be treason, Core pointed out, though his tone lacked conviction. Would it? Dr. Zhang challenged. Is it treasonous to prevent your civilization from launching a disastrous war based on faulty intelligence? How many Dominion lives would be lost in such a conflict? Vex stood from his command chair and paced the bridge, his mind racing. Everything he'd ever been taught told him to obey orders, to trust in the Dominion's might, but everything he'd seen in the past 24 hours told him that such trust was misplaced. At least in this instance. What exactly would this alliance entail? He asked finally. Powell leaned forward. Your ship will land at a designated facility. You and your crew will be granted temporary asylum, while we deal with the approaching fleet. Once we have convinced your leadership of the reality of our capabilities, preferably without bloodshed, you will be free to return to your people as diplomats rather than conquerors. And if you can't convince them without bloodshed, Vex pressed. Then you will be witnesses to what happens, Powell said solemnly. Witnesses who can eventually help rebuild the relationship between our species on more equal footing. Vex looked around at his crew. Lark's antennae were straight up, a sign of keen interest in her species. Prill's auxiliary arms were rubbing together excitedly, her scientific curiosity clearly piqued. Taz's crystalline form glinted with anxious energy, while Core's wrinkled face had settled into a contemplative frown. We need to discuss this privately, Vex told Powell. Can you give us a moment? Of course, Powell nodded. We will stand by. The transmission paused, the image of the humans freezing on the view screen. This is unprecedented, Core stated immediately. No commander in Dominion history has ever defected during a conquest. No commander in Dominion history has ever faced a species that could actually defeat us, Vex countered. We are not talking about defection. We are talking about preventing a massacre of our people. I believe the humans, Lark said firmly. Everything about their communications pattern suggests honesty, and their technology. Commander, they could have destroyed us multiple times already if that was their intent. The scientific opportunity alone is staggering, Prill added. Their quantum concealment technology could revolutionize Dominion science. If we do this, Taz said quietly, we can never go home, not as we were. Vex considered this. Perhaps, or perhaps we become the bridge between our civilizations. The Dominion has never encountered a species of equal or greater technological advancement. Our protocols don't account for it because it was deemed impossible. So we are really considering this? Core asked, his tone somewhere between disbelief and resignation. I am, Vex confirmed. But I won't order any of you to follow me. Each of you must decide for yourselves. One by one, his officers exchanged glances. Then, to Vex's surprise, Core was the first to step forward. The Dominion teaches us that strength deserves respect. The tactical officer said gruffly, These humans have earned mine. I will follow your lead, Commander. The others quickly voiced their agreement, and Vex felt a surge of pride in his crew. He turned back to the view screen. Resume transmission. Powell's image animated once more. Have you reached a decision, Commander? We have, Vex nodded. We accept your offer of alliance and asylum. Send us the landing coordinates. Powell's expression softened into a genuine smile. Transmitting now. And Commander, thank you. This couldn't have been an easy choice. It wasn't, Vex admitted, but it was the right one. We will see you planetside, General. 3 days later, Vex stood with Powell and her team at the command center of what the humans called First Contact Facility Alpha, a massive underground complex hidden beneath an unassuming mountain range. Above them, a holographic display showed the Dominion's 7th Fleet in high orbit, arranged in standard Conquest formation. They are hailing us, Dr. Zhang reported from her station. Put it through, Powell ordered. Grand Admiral Zorix's massive form appeared on the main screen, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with fury as he caught sight of Vex standing among the humans. So, Zorix hissed, the reports of your treachery are true. You shame the Dominion, Commander Vex. I'm trying to save the Dominion, Vex replied calmly. Admiral, these humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. The inevitable victory's sensor logs don't lie. Stand down your fleet before this escalates. Ah yes, these mythical advanced humans, Zorix sneered, who somehow hide their true power out of, what was it? Moral principle. Laughable. This is your final warning, Powell stated, stepping forward. The Dominion fleet will power down weapons and fold space drives, or we will be forced to demonstrate our capabilities more conclusively than we did for Commander Vex. Zorix let out a barking laugh. Your psychological warfare might have worked on a single ship, but the 7th Fleet isn't so easily intimidated. You have 1 hour to surrender your planet, or we begin bombardment. The transmission cut abruptly. Powell sighed and turned to Dr. Zhang. Lily, it seems we need to make our point. Implement Sunburst Protocol. Dr. Zhang nodded solemnly and moved to a specialized console. Targeting fold space drive resonators on all Dominion vessels. Quantum entanglement established. Ready on your command. Vex watched in fascination and horror as the human's fingers danced across controls that seemed to operate on principles he couldn't begin to comprehend. What exactly will this do? He asked hesitantly. It will temporarily disable the fold space drives on every ship in the fleet simultaneously, Dr. Jackson explained. No permanent damage, no casualties. Just enough to prove we are not bluffing. Execute, Powell ordered. Dr. Zhang pressed a single control, and for a moment nothing seemed to happen. Then, on the holographic display, alarm indicators began flashing across every ship in the Dominion fleet. They are trying to raise shields and charge weapons, Tactical Officer Core observed from his assigned station. But something's interfering with their power distribution networks. That would be us, Dr. Jackson said with a small smile. Phase 2, General. Powell nodded. Proceed. Another command, and suddenly every ship in the Dominion fleet began to move, rearranging themselves into a perfect geometric pattern against their will. What? How are you doing this? Vex gasped. Targeted gravitational manipulation, Dr. Zhang explained. We are essentially creating microscopic, highly focused gravitational fields around each vessel. On the display, the Dominion ships were now arranged in a massive spherical formation, powerless to break free from whatever invisible force held them. Incoming transmission from the flagship, Lark announced from her human-provided console. Put the Admiral through, Powell instructed. Zorix appeared again, but this time, his expression was one of utter shock. What is the meaning of this? What have you done to my fleet? Exactly what we said we would do, Powell replied evenly. This is but a fraction of our defensive capabilities, Admiral. Your ships are undamaged, your crews unharmed. Consider this a demonstration of restraint as much as power. The Grand Admiral's bioluminescent patches had faded to a pale blue, a sign of fear in his species that Vex had never witnessed before. Release my ships immediately, Zorix demanded, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. We will, Powell assured him. Once we have established the same ground rules I gave Commander Vex. Earth is not available for conquest. Any aggression will be met with overwhelming response. Peaceful relations, however, are very much on the table. Zorix's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession as he processed this new reality. Finally, he asked, "How? How did a species like yours develop such technology without our knowledge?" Dr. Barrett, the historian, stepped forward. "Because we learned the value of patience, Admiral, of hiding our light until necessary. For centuries we fought amongst ourselves, nearly destroying our own world multiple times. When we finally united and looked to the stars, we made a choice. We would not bring our worst instincts into the cosmos. We detected your Dominion scouts decades ago," Powell added. "We have been studying you while presenting the facade of a primitive, divided species. Not out of fear, but out of hope that when first contact finally came, it might be peaceful. And when it wasn't," Vex interjected, addressing his former superior, "they still chose restraint. They could have destroyed the inevitable victory the moment we arrived. Instead, they warned us off." Zorix was silent for a long moment, his expression cycling through emotions Vex couldn't entirely interpret. Finally, he spoke, his voice subdued. "I will consult with the High Council. Your demonstration is compelling." "A wise decision," Powell nodded. "We will release your ships to a safe distance. Take all the time you need." As the transmission ended, Vex turned to Powell. "What happens now?" "Now," Powell smiled. "Now the real work begins. Your Dominion will need to reevaluate its place in the galaxy. Your people will need to adjust to the idea that they are not the most advanced species among the stars, and we will need to adjust to finally stepping out of the shadows." "And us?" Locke asked, gesturing to the inevitable Victory's crew. "You," Dr. Barrett said warmly, "have made history today. The first Dominion citizens to forge peace with humanity. I suspect your future roles as cultural ambassadors will be quite significant." Vex gazed up at the display, where the Dominion fleet was being gently moved to a non-threatening position by humanity's incomprehensible technology. Everything he thought he knew about his place in the universe had been upended in just a few days. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "we have a saying in the Dominion. When the sky turns red, seek shelter. It's a warning of imminent danger." "Appropriate," Powell nodded. "Though perhaps now for your people the red sky will become a sign not of danger, but of change. Necessary, if uncomfortable, change." "And that chocolate you mentioned?" Vex asked, his mandibles clicking in what the humans were learning to recognize as a smile. "I'm still curious to try it." Powell laughed, the sound echoing through the command center. "I think that can be arranged, Commander. I think that can definitely be arranged." Above them, Earth's sky remained blue, peaceful under the watchful protection of its hidden guardians. But throughout the Dominion, as news of the encounter spread, the metaphorical sky had indeed turned red, not with the blood of conquest, but with the dawn of a new era, an era where humanity finally revealed its true nature to the stars. And the stars, much to their surprise, found themselves both humbled and intrigued by what they discovered.